You know, for decades, the message has been crystal clear. If you want strong bones, you gotta drink your milk. But what if you can't? Or what if you just don't want to? Well, today, we are going way beyond the cow. We're gonna build a whole new framework for bone health, and you'll see there are some incredibly powerful and kind of surprising plant-based sources of calcium out there. Let's dive in.
So here's the game plan for today. We'll kick things off with the big calcium problem. Then we'll get into this fascinating puzzle called bioavailability. After that, we'll spotlight some amazing plant-based powerhouses, introduce calcium's all-star support team, and then wrap it all up with a new strategy you can start using, like, right away.
All right, first things first. What's our daily goal? Well, for most adults between 19 and 50, the number to aim for is 1,000 milligrams of calcium per day. That's our target. Now here's the thing. In the US, a whopping 72% of all that calcium we're getting comes from dairy. I mean, that is a huge reliance on one food group, and it creates a real problem for anyone who's lactose intolerant or vegan or just choosing to skip dairy. And that's exactly the problem we're here to solve today.
Okay, this brings us to what is, without a doubt, the most important idea in this entire explainer, the bioavailability puzzle. Because here's the secret. When it comes to calcium, it's not just about how much is in your food. It's about how much your body can actually get a hold of and use.
So what in the world is bioavailability? Well, it's just a fancy science term for the amount of a nutrient, like calcium, that your body can actually absorb and put to work. Seriously, once you get this one concept, it's going to completely change the way you read a nutrition label. And this right here is the perfect way to think about it. The total calcium listed on a label, that's like your gross paycheck. But the bioavailable calcium, that's what's left after the body takes its taxes. It's the actual cash that gets deposited in your bone bank.
So, what are these taxes? Well, in the plant world, they're often caused by something called anti-nutrients. These are just natural compounds that plants make to protect themselves, but for us, they can sometimes act like little roadblocks that stop us from absorbing all the good minerals. Okay, meet anti-nutrient number 1, oxalates. You find a ton of these in foods like spinach. So imagine this. The calcium and the oxalates meet up in your gut, and they basically lock hands, forming this super stable crystal that your body just can't break down. The calcium is right there, but it's completely locked away.
And then there's the other main player, phytic acid, or phytates. You'll find these in things like whole grains, seeds, and beans, and they do a similar thing. They can grab onto minerals like calcium and even iron and zinc and just reduce how much you can absorb from that meal.
And boom, this slide right here illustrates the whole idea perfectly. Look at spinach. On paper, it looks amazing, super high in calcium. But because it's also loaded with those oxalates, your body can only absorb about 5% of the calcium. 5. Now look at kale. It has a little less calcium overall, but because it's low in oxalates, you absorb around 50% of it. That's literally 10 times more efficient.
Okay, let's check out the hard data, because this is where it gets really interesting. Just focus on that last column, net absorbed calcium. See how a cup of cooked kale or bok choy gives you pretty much the same amount of usable calcium as a cup of milk? And check out calcium-set tofu. It can deliver 2, even 3 times more. This isn't just a theory, folks. The numbers show that some plants are absolutely just as good, and sometimes even better, than dairy.
Okay, so now that we get it, let's find the true heroes of the story. The foods that are not just packed with calcium, but also let our bodies actually use it. It's time to meet the real plant-based powerhouses.
First on the list has to be kale and its family members, like collard greens and broccoli. Because they're so low in those pesky oxalates, the calcium they have is incredibly easy for our bodies to absorb. This makes them an absolute top-tier choice for building strong bones. No dairy required.
Next up is a true food science marvel, calcium-set tofu. See, when tofu is made with something called calcium sulfate, it turns into this amazing source of super absorbable calcium. In fact, its bioavailability is almost identical to milk's. The key is to just look for calcium sulfate on the ingredient list.
And we can't forget about fortified foods. You know, plant milks, orange juice, these can be a super easy way to up your calcium intake. But, and this is a big but, you have to remember this one crucial tip. The calcium they add can sink to the bottom. So if you don't give that carton a really good, vigorous shake every single time, you might be missing out on a lot of the calcium you think you're getting. And beyond the big names, there is a whole universe of other calcium stars out there. I mean, look at poppy seeds. They are an absolute powerhouse. And finger millet, also known as ragi, has about 3 times more calcium than milk. We already saw how awesome bok choy is too.
The point is, you have way more options than you probably thought.
All right, so we've found our calcium. Mission accomplished, right? Well, not so fast. Here's the next critical piece of the puzzle. Calcium is a team player. It absolutely needs a support crew to do its job right.
I absolutely love this analogy. It just perfectly describes the job of this super important nutrient, vitamin K2. It really does act like a traffic cop for calcium, telling it exactly where to go. Yep, head on over to the bones and teeth and keeping it out of places it shouldn't be, like our arteries.
It's really a beautiful little three-step process. Step 1, you need vitamin D to even get the calcium out of your gut and into your bloodstream. Step 2, you need magnesium to flip the switch and turn that vitamin D on. And then, step 3, vitamin K2 comes in and activates the proteins that carry the calcium into your bones. See, they all have to work together.
So let's tie this all together into a real actionable strategy. These are the practical things you can do starting today to really maximize your calcium absorption and build better bones.
First off, how you cook your food really matters. Simple things like soaking and sprouting your beans or grains can seriously cut down on that phytic acid. Fermenting is even better. And hey, if you love spinach, just boil it and dump the water. That gets rid of a huge chunk of those oxalates.
And finally, just make smart choices day to day. Always check for calcium set on your tofu. Make those low oxalate greens like kale and bok choy the stars of your meals. Please, please, please remember to shake those fortified drinks. And maybe most importantly, eat a wide variety of foods. Don't put all your eggs or, your kale in one basket.
So, the real takeaway here is we need to shift our focus. The goal isn't just about chasing a number, trying to hit that 1,000 milligrams. It's about building a whole system, a way of eating that makes sure the calcium you consume actually gets absorbed and then gets sent to exactly where you need it most.
And that brings us to the final question I want you to think about. When you look at your plate, are you just building a diet for the total numbers on a label, or are you building it for what your body can actually use? Food for thought.